It started with a song. It ended with a federal investigation. And now it might just decide the fate of the United States Congress. Welcome back. We need to talk about what just happened at Super Bowl 60. By now, you've seen the clips. You've seen the 49ers tribute. You've seen the censored lyrics. But what you might not have seen is the panic happening behind closed doors in Washington, D.C. right now. Here is the burning question. Can a 15-minute halftime show actually swing a midterm election? When the most powerful man in the world, President Donald Trump, freshly inaugurated for his second term, decided to declare war on the biggest pop star in the world, he thought he was fighting a culture war. He thought he was rallying his base against indecency. But according to new reports from Reuters and insiders at the FCC, the president might have just walked into a trap. Today, we are digging into the Trump versus Bad Bunny feud, the FCC investigation that fizzled into embarrassing silence, and the secret political fallout that has Republican strategists sweating bullets about November 2026. Buckle up. This is the story of how a reggaeton beat dropped a bomb on the GOP. Let's set the stage. It's Sunday, February 8th, 2026. Super Bowl 60. The 49ers are watching from home after a brutal season, but their spirit is in the building. The halftime show begins, and out walks Benito Antonio Martinez Ocasio, Bad Bunny. For 13 minutes, it's a masterclass in Latin pride. He's the first solo headliner to perform almost entirely in Spanish. He's wearing a jersey that says Ocasio 64. Now, for the casual viewer, that number 64 was a mystery. Internet conspiracy theorists immediately went wild. They thought the power lines on stage and the jersey were a reference to the 49ers electrical substation theory. You know, the joke that the power grid near the stadium is cursing the team with injuries. But the reality was much more human. Ocasio is his mother's name. 64 was the birth year of his uncle Cutito, a die-hard 49ers fan who passed away 2 years ago. This was a tribute to family. It was a tribute to the American dream of a Puerto Rican immigrant family loving American football. But that's not what the president saw. Almost immediately after the final note, President Trump took to Truth Social. His review? Absolutely terrible. He called the dancing disgusting, complained that nobody understands a word this guy is saying, and labeled the performance an affront to the greatness of America. And he wasn't alone. The outrage machine kicked into high gear. Republican Congressman Randy Fine and Congressman Andy Ogles didn't just tweet. They took action. They claimed the performance was pornographic. They claimed Bad Bunny had broadcast obscenity to millions of children. They demanded that FCC Chairman Brendan Carr, a Trump ally, launch an immediate federal investigation into NBC and the NFL. They claimed Bad Bunny had sung the dirty lyrics to his hit Safaera. They were ready to fine the network millions. They were ready to revoke broadcast licenses. They were ready to make an example of him. There was just one problem. They weren't listening closely enough. This brings us to the investigation. If you know Bad Bunny's music, you know Safaera is explicit. It's a track that, in its original form, would absolutely violate FCC guidelines if played unedited on network TV. The Republicans accusing him of indecency printed out the translated English lyrics of the original song and waved them around as proof of a crime. But here is where the scandal falls apart. According to a new report from Consequence in the New York Post, the FCC actually did look into it. They pulled the tapes. They hired translators. They sat down to review the footage frame by frame, expecting to find the smoking gun that Congressman Fine promised. And do you know what they found? Nothing. It turns out Bad Bunny knows how television works. He didn't sing the explicit lines. In the live performance, he mumbled over the curse words. He held the microphone away from his mouth during the Safaera verses about activities. He let the beat ride. The FCC review concluded that he had self-censored every single actionable lyric. The investigation fizzled instantly. The agency has shelved the review barring further evidence. The pornography the GOP was screaming about existed only in their heads, or rather in the Google Translate printouts they were holding, not on the screen. It was a humiliating moment for the lawmakers who demanded the probe. They tried to create a wardrobe malfunction moment where none existed. But while the legal battle ended before it began, The cultural battle did damage that can't be undone. And this is where the story shifts from celebrity gossip to political nightmare. You see, President Trump didn't just attack a singer, he attacked the most popular figure in the Latino community, just months after his campaign surrogates called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. Reuters is reporting that Republican strategists are privately panicking. Let's look at the numbers. In January 2025, at the start of his second term, Trump had a 93% approval rating among the Latinos who voted for him. That is a staggering number. He had built a historic coalition. By November 2025, that support had already dipped to 81%, and now, after the Super Bowl, after calling a celebration of Puerto Rican culture disgusting, sources close to the White House say they are terrified this is the tipping point. Bianca Rodriguez, a former Trump official, went on record saying that shouldn't have been a battle to have been picked culturally. Even staunch allies are calling it a political misstep. Why? Because Bad Bunny isn't just a pop star. For millions of young Latino voters, the exact demographic the GOP is trying to hold on to, he is a symbol of resistance. Remember, just a week before the Super Bowl, at the Grammys, Bad Bunny called out ICE on stage. Trump took the bait. He attacked the man, the culture, and the language. And in doing so, he reminded every Puerto Rican voter in Florida, every Mexican-American voter in Texas, and every Latino voter in Arizona that he views their culture as an affront to America. The Bad Bunny effect isn't about music anymore. It's about the 2026 midterms. So where does this leave us? The FCC investigation is dead. Bad Bunny is still the biggest artist on the planet, and now he's sold even more records because of the controversy. The 49ers didn't win the Super Bowl, but they got a global shout-out that immortalized a fan's love for his uncle. But the Republican Party is left holding a bag of unwanted consequences. We are less than 9 months away from the midterm elections. The GOP is fighting to hold a razor-thin majority in the House. They need every single vote they can get. History tells us that midterms are usually a bloodbath for the party in power. But usually that's because of the economy or foreign policy. It is rare, almost unheard of, for a president to damage his own coalition because he didn't like a halftime show. Bad Bunny once said, "Yo hago lo que me da la gana." I do whatever I want. President Trump tried to tell him he couldn't. He tried to use the federal government to police his lyrics. He tried to shame his culture. And in the end, the only thing that got investigated was the fragility of the political coalition Trump spent 4 years building. The investigation fizzled, but the anger in the voting booth, that might just be heating up. Thanks for watching. If you think pop culture has too much power in politics, or if you think the president should focus on policy instead of playlists, let me know in the comments below. I'll see you in the next one.